I mean, it's still just as smooth with one hand.
Don't discount the power of this polisher by its size. We'll dive a lot deeper in just a moment. I'm Tim Johnson. You're watching Shop Tour Reviews. At the SEMA show at the end of last year, we actually got to use this little PXE80 from Flex, and we were very impressed right off the bat by the sheer power of this machine. Now, what it's meant for is to run a maximum of a 3-inch pad, but it'll do it up to 4,000 RPMs. There's actually a 5,000 RPM setting, but that's actually more for sanding on a rotary pad and so forth. So really impressed with the power, but the uniqueness of the machine is the fact that not only it has the power, but it's able to actually quick disconnect its tools and actually use a different set of tools for different points of your polishing, different points of car detailing and so forth. So whether you're doing paint correction, whether you're just putting on a wax or a polish or a sealer, depending on what you're doing, there's a tool for this, and this same PXE80 will do all of it. Now what you get in the kit is the PXE80 polisher. You also get two 2.5 amp hour 12 volt batteries, which you can also upgrade to 4 amp hour and 6 amp hour batteries. You also get these attachments here. Now what we have here is we have a 12 millimeter orbital, so 12 millimeter orbital on this orbital. We have a 3 millimeter orbital, as well as a rotary tool, which is just going to spin around. It's not going to have any orbit to it. And then you get a 1-inch pad that's for your adhesive pads or for your adhesive sanding disc, as well as a hook and loop, so your 1-inch pads. And then you get a 3-inch hook and loop as well, again, to run your 3-inch pad. So that's what comes with the kit. You can also get other pads and other backing plates as well, but that's what comes in the kit, as well as the charger and the bag. Now, I usually don't kind of start out with a charger, but I wanted to mention that because a lot of times those things get left out. When you're dealing with Flex, their mother company makes batteries, they make chargers, they make brushless motors, they make the whole 9 yards. Now, what you get when you get a manufacturer like that is something that's actually tuned to the battery, tuned to the charger, tuned to the unit, which makes a big difference in efficiency as well as power. Now take, for instance, this charger here. Most chargers, typically kind of a dumb charger, may have a lighting system where it lets you know whether it's flashing, if it's flashing red it's charging, and solid green if it's charged, whatever. But this one's a little different. You actually see right here you have an LCD screen where you can actually see how long you have on this unit. It tells you it's kind of the state of the charge by a blinking light, and then it flashes to actually a number system, which is telling you how many minutes are left on that charge. Now, that may seem a little overkill for a charger, but I really don't think so in this case, because you know how many times you walk into the charger and you're like, oh, is it done yet? Is it done yet? Well, now you know. Do I grab a cup of coffee? Do I grab some water? Do I grab some lunch? And then when I come back, it's done and ready to go. Or maybe I know, you know what? Got 5 minutes left, I'll have that battery fully charged. So again, a smart charger. It's also going to know when it's overheated to cool it down before it charges and all those things as well. So you get overload protection in the tool as well as on the charger. It's not just going to superheat that battery and ruin those battery cells. So it's protecting those batteries as well as protecting your tools. And again, that's great when you have a manufacturer that actually knows all that stuff and combines all that into their tools and into their products. So that's what you get with Flex. As I mentioned, it's kitted with the 12 volt batteries and the 2.5 amp hour batteries. You can also get a 4 amp hour and a 6 amp hour. Now, what do run times look like? Well, we're going to know here shortly when we actually put it to the test, but what Flex is saying is about 20 minutes run time polishing on a 2.5 amp hour battery, and then up to 50 minutes on a 6 amp hour battery. So again, if you've got two 2.5 amp hour batteries, you've got about 40 minutes of runtime there. Now, you're not polishing a whole car with this. You're probably going to do some pillars, maybe around the mirrors, maybe around some braking ports or gills in the side of a car, or maybe around the front spoiler, things like that. So typically smaller areas when you get into micro polishing like this. Also, working out nibs and things like that. That's what comes in great for the rotary tool and the flat disc, and then you switch to your pad with the hook and loop. So really nice kit here from the PXE80 and from the folks at Flex. Cost on this is about $399, so about $400 is what you get for this entire kit. That's not going to include any pads or or anything like that. But again, you've probably already got pads, but you can also buy 3-inch pads pretty cheap, and then 1-inch pads as well. Now, we're really excited to put this to the test. In fact, we've got a big surprise on the vehicle we're actually going to break this out with. So I'm really excited about that. You'll see that here in just a moment, but we're basically going to take this, going to throw it in the hands of Michael's Auto Detailing. So that's Michael and Chase, and they're actually going to use this. We're going to be doing the filming, get their feedback on this unit, get their professional perspective on it. You know, is it meant for the hands of pros? We definitely think it is. Like I said, we got to use it at SEMA. Really excited about it, but we're excited to see what they have to say about it, and where they're going to see the use for it, where they're going to see the fit for it, and how much it'll come out, you know, in their tool arsenal on a day-to-day basis. So stick with us. We'll dig into the actual use of this product, and then we'll come back with our feedback on it.
Trigger's a little interesting to get locked in.
It is a little different.
It comes out nice and easy, but yeah, this is going to come in real handy, especially down here. No vibration whatsoever. This machine's going to become necessary on about 50% of newer cars. I'm looking at least, yeah, probably 50% of this car is going to be, this tool is going to be needed to get any type of polishing action done on it.
Now, otherwise, what would you use? Hand? Or would you just take the edge of your 5-inch?
Yeah, on something like that, there's enough lip I could get a 5-inch pad to it. But then you're worried about
Bumping up against
anything, yeah, rubber hitting on anything, but honestly, in the vents themselves, there's not really enough. I would be worried about any type of machine going in there before it. So it would end up probably having to be done by hand. Plenty of power for being such a small tool, for sure.
Yeah. And you say vibrations very little?
There's not, yeah, there's none at all, honestly. Even one-handed, it's been on 3 the whole time, yep. Yeah, honestly, so far, I think the only thing that I'm not the biggest fan of is your click-up feature, just because in certain areas,
yeah,
it's a little bit of a pain to get completely locked in. All right, since I was just complaining about it, I'm going to show you what I figured out. Okay. As long as you're at the bottom of it, it slides right up. It's all a feel thing, yeah. And you can also, if you're at the very bottom of it, you can slide it up and get it to go when you want and it not completely lock in on you. Because it will go up enough and not lock in. So it's all about where your finger placement is on that trigger.
It's definitely not feel.
Yeah.
You kind of got to get used to that slide. I thought that might be what you felt.
Yeah, but it does, yeah, instantly, as long as you're down here at the bottom, you can feather it all the way in however you want. All right, we found a few scratches. Let's see what we can do. I know it sounds weird, but there's actually a lot of different ways you can turn this thing and gain more access, being in little areas. You can get decently creative with it, because when I didn't think I could get in there as far as I could, the battery placement is prime.
Yeah, stays out of your way.
Yeah. Pretty sizable power change from speed 2 to 3. So in areas like this is definitely when you're going to want to feather in, because you just try and start full blast here, you're not going to have even product placement whatsoever, and then you end up polishing in an area where you're dry compared to where, and you're definitely not going to get an even correction, and you can actually mar the paint quicker than you can fix stuff. So just feathering it in helps you actually move your product around, and then gives you a better starting point before you turn it all the way up. Yeah, if that's 1,000 RPMs, that's a big difference. I started on 2, feathered in with 2, went full to 2, and then instantly moved to 3 once it was fully spreaded.
Gotcha. So would you rather see a 500 RPM? Is that what you're saying?
That's not, actually, no. I'm okay with that, because a lot of times, some of the variable between them, there's none. They you know, you can drop down. Honestly, sometimes you got to drop down 2 speeds to get any real difference. And I like having a full 1 step down instead of just half in between, because I don't feel like there's any difference whatsoever.
Gotcha.
And you can actually, when you're feathering it in, if you're on 2, you can actually, 2 is low enough to where 2 and 1 could probably be feathered in full blast instead of just using the trigger to do it.
Yeah.
So are we supposed to stay away from speed 4?
Well,
I don't see anything that would hurt. Yeah, there's just as big as there's a difference going down from 3 to 2, there is from going from up from 3 to 4. We're about to hang on, where I'm actually probably about to say worse than that, because I think they're under the clear. So I think you're supposed to think that brand new cars don't have any paint flaws, but about at least a quarter of this side of this spoiler has some pretty rough paint flaws in it that look like some pretty heavy DA marks at that. That's some pretty decent pressure on that right there, and it didn't phase it one bit on 4. No, I think I might have fixed it though. It's got a minor edge to it up at the very top, but that's a big difference. But that's impressive if this will get that out for sure, machine-wise. But even on speed 4, I would say 2 hands would probably be recommended, but if you had to be in an area, I mean, it's still just as smooth with 1 hand.
So if you didn't notice, we got to use the new FLEX PXE 80 polisher on a brand new C8 Corvette. Now there's not a lot of these on the road yet, and this one actually had less than 400 miles on it. It was in for some ceramic coating, so obviously before the coating, got to do some prep on it, and Chase was able to find a couple of blemishes in the paint as well. In particular, a couple of small scratches that, again, in the white hides really well, but he was able to find those, polish those out. But in particular, on the rear spoiler, you can see where he's making some comments on that. I mean, it looked like that from the factory, they maybe had some issues on that spoiler and it hit it with a DA and not polished everything out. Now, at first, he was thinking that it might be under some clear, like where there had been some fix and then cleared without having to, without being done right, but it actually polished out. But it really did look like you took clear coat, hit it with some fine DA, maybe 1,000, 1,500 grit, but he was able to polish that out, which we was pretty impressed with on speed 4 of the polisher. So a couple of notes, again, just kind of pointing out what he mentions while he's using it. And pretty much, I had told him a little bit about the tool. I got to use this at SEMA. I got to use this at Mobile Tech. So I'd gotten my hands on it already and used it a few times. But I really didn't give him all my take on it, but just gave him some ins and outs. He was excited to use it. But I wanted to get his fresh perspective, and that's why I just kind of mic'd him up, let him work this thing around the car, let him use it in a few hours, and actually, usually I come back with it in the studio and I'm able to kind of show it while I'm talking about it. He wouldn't let me have it. So he really loves it. But anyway, so a couple of notes that he made. One was the slide switch. Now I would have bet $100, maybe even $1,000 that he would have mentioned that. In fact, probably anybody that's going to pick this up is probably going to say something about the slide switch. Now, it's not bad. It's really not bad at all. In fact, you heard him 10 seconds later actually mention, and actually in actuality, there was a few minutes in between of him turning it on and off. It's just a different feel, but once you get the feel of the switch and how basically you can keep your hand on the top of it or your thumb on the top and slide it up and actually just kind of feather that throttle where it doesn't lock in. But if you put your thumb on the back of the switch and let it rock up and slide it, works a lot easier, and then you could feel how it actually goes over the ramp and then locks in. Again, I could explain all day long. Until you just feel it, you're not going to notice it. But then after you use it, 10 times, you absolutely get a feel for it. So it's not a good or bad thing. It's just something that is a little different. You're going to get used to it, just like Chase did. So, but just wanted to give you that perspective. If you pick this thing up and the first couple of times you're like, what in the world? What's wrong with this switch? Use it 10 times and then you'll understand. It's not a bad thing. It's just a different thing. So you heard him mention that. We also read in the manual where it said that speed 4, which is 5,000 RPMs, is typically meant for more sanding correction and not polishing. The polishing should be done, kind of 1, 2, and 3, so 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Not sure that we completely agree with that. And point being is that, Chase liked turning it up to speed 4 on some of those places where he had some blemishes and he could polish those things out. And one of the things he mentions was, and I recognize this too, the limited vibration on this tool for the RPMs it's turning and the power it's putting out is virtually none. I mean, literally, we had the 12 millimeter throw on pretty much the whole time. So it also has a 3 millimeter throw, but we had the 12 millimeter orbital on there with that 3-inch pad on speed 4. And as you see on that rear spoiler, he had one hand on it. He said no problem whatsoever. You probably want to keep 2 hands on it on speed 4. But again, the minimal vibration that it's putting out, even on speed 4, is very impressive. Another key feature about this is just the sheer size of it and how it's built. Chase mentions about the battery placement. And it's probably more so, all the batteries are typically off the back end, but just kind of it being a 12-volt tool, having all that power, but still being that smaller size really allows you to maneuver this thing in the areas that typically you're definitely not going to put a big pad in. And even some of the smaller units, this thing actually goes into places that are quite impressive. And he even mentioned that. And also, we are seeing more and more cars that are basically have those pieces on the car, whether it's brake duct ports, whether it's front rear spoilers, sharp edges, things like that, where it's almost needed for these cars is a small polisher like this. So the PXE 80, check it out from Flex Tools. You can find them at flexnorthamerica.com. Auto Geeks got these for like $3.99 for this kit that we just showed you. So the 2.5 amp hour 12-volt batteries, the PXE 80, the bag, and the smart charger. So make sure you check that out. Also, runtime on these, we pretty much doing the whole car, and you can see he actually did some flat panel areas too, just to get used to the tool. Up on the hood, on the door as well, just to kind of use the tool. So he really used it more than he had to. Still didn't burn through a complete battery. So you got a 2-battery kit, it's probably going to last you fine. At the same time, I'd really like to see some runtime results on, say, a 4 amp hour battery. I think 6 is probably getting too big for the tool. Just my perspective on that. But again, I haven't used it yet with one of those packs. But I would probably recommend a 4 amp hour. We'll get one in, actually do some testing on that and let you know. But again, did a complete car with one 2.5 amp hour battery. So if you got another one charged, there's 2 cars right there during the day. And again, if you're charging those, you probably should be good to go for the complete day without having to wait on a battery to be charged. But anyway, great tool, great job Flex on doing that. Very impressed with, number one, the tool. The C8 Corvette, if you haven't seen one up close, they're very impressive cars. They're literally, I love the fact that Detroit is putting out a near supercar, mid-engine, true sports car. So great job on that, Chevrolet. Check out Flex at flexnorthamerica.com. Also keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Hey, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, especially if you like this video. Also, the bell notification, it's going to let you know when new videos are available. Hey, during these times, go out and do something nice for someone. Just maybe keep your social distance, But have a great day.